Hello, I'm Jay, owner of Volunteer Audio in Oliver Springs, Tennessee. A while back, we introduced to you the new Hertz cutting kit designed for the SX690 Neo 6x9s to be installed in your 2014 and newer Harley Davidson Street Glide, Ultra, Electric Glide, or 2015 and up Road Glide. Now, this is going to work with any factory lid that does not have a current speaker provision. If you have the 5x7 CVO style lids, you would need an adapter that would adapt the 6x9 under it, and these would not be used. Also, this uses a different cut-in than pretty much any other cutting kit on the market. So if you already have a cutting kit in your lid, this is not going to be a direct replacement. It's not going to go in. You do need to start with a new set of lids. But we're very excited about this, and I wanted to show it to you again and do a complete step-by-step install, not only of how to properly install the cutting kits, but how to properly route the wiring that goes to these rear speakers. So we're going to show you in depth how we route it to keep it out of the belt, to keep it out of the brakes. It's very simple to do, and I just want to show you that process. But let's talk about the cut kit first, because this is a new look that we haven't seen from anybody else. I really like it because the grill is actually recessed in, and we have these louvers on the side. Now, Hertz being an Italian company, this definitely suits a lot of the styling we see from Europe, and I think it really adds to a lot of the new bikes, because used to Harleys were all chrome. Now they're black or black and machined accent, and this works so good on so many of the colors and really makes it pop. And even if you just have a black bike with a bunch of chrome, these look great on your black lids. So the build quality of these is different than we've seen from some of the other ones. It is a very nice thick flange that's well gasketed to keep water out, as well as they're doing a machined brass insert so that we actually have machine screws going in, where a lot of the other ones are just plastic with self-tapping screws going into place. They did this to carry the weight of some of these heavier or bigger built 6x9s, but with Hertz, we get the overbuilt style adapter, and we're still using an N38H neodymium magnet on their 6x9, so they're not too heavy. So your bag does still open and close well, and the straps aren't stressed out, and your latches work well. And that speaker is made to perfectly fit the back side of this. They've got the exact cutout for it, and even include a gasket that goes on the speaker so that it water seals and it makes it very easy. All the necessary hardware is going to be included, from the screws that it takes to mount your template to your bag, to the screws that it takes to mount your speaker to the cut kit, and everything in between. It's all included in the kit. Now at Volunteer Audio, we sell this in 3 different ways. You're going to have the ability to buy just the cut kits. We also sell the cut kits that include the harnessing, and then we have the cut kits, the harnessing, and the 6x9s. Now the 4th way is to buy one of our plug-and-play packages, where it comes with the Hertz amplifier, everything's preset. We make sure you get everything you need to do the install, and just like this is a step-by-step video on this, we have step-by-step videos on everything else about your bike to help you do that install, so you can do it correctly, and then we also give you free lifetime tech support and help if you get stumped somewhere in between. All right, so we're gonna move over to a bike. I got a little weirdness going on with this bike. We're going to show you on the bike we're working on how to route the wiring, but it does have a tour pack that's not detachable. So I'm going to move one of the bags to another bike just to show you with better detail, where you can see better how to do the cut-in, but I'll show you how to route the wiring on the bike we're working on. So a little confusion, you'll see one of the blue bags on a white bike for cutout. That's just so we can do better videoing and show you more in depth and in detail up close how to get to it without that tour pack hindering that view. So let's get to our bike. I'll show you how to cut in the lid kits and how to properly route the wiring that comes in the kit. This video is brought to you by VolunteerAudio.com, your #1 source for all things Harley Davidson audio. From individual radios, speakers, and amps to complete plug-and-play amp and speaker systems, we've got you covered. And once you've ordered your package from Volunteer Audio, it includes lifetime tech support, and we have the very best step-by-step installation video so you can install it yourself and save money. So included in your wiring kit, you're going to have this one. This is what we're going to call the rear Y. This is going to plug into that front backbone connector, simple plug in. At that point, you're going to have 2 leads that come out. Now they're clearly labeled. One is going to say belt and one is going to say brake. Now the belt side of your motor is going to be the left side with you sitting on it. That's where the belt is. The right side is going to be where your brake caliper is. So we're going to find the one that says brake. And on this particular bike, you got a little less room than most because it has anti-lock brakes. It's got an ABS module here behind here. And what we're going to do is we're going to, with the cover off, we're just going to take this wire and we're going to feed it here at the top of this ABS module, and we're going to bring it out through this hole. Once we have it through there, we're going to bring it behind this frame rail, and we're going to bring it up to where you see this factory places where zip ties can go. That's where the factory harnessing is held. That's what we're going to use as well. So I'm going to take a zip tie and I'm going to go through here. And I'm going to secure this just about where that sticker is, where it says brake. This doesn't have to be real long because what we're essentially doing is we're going to bend it under here. It's going to plug into our connector that goes to our bag. We don't want it too long so that if we do decide to leave it unplugged, it doesn't get into anything. So we're going to secure it there. We're then going to flush cut our zip tie. Always flush cut them so they don't cut you later if you got your hand on it. We're then going to come up here to our frame, and you're going to see there is a little hole here where your zip tie will feed through. And we're going to come around that little frame rail, making sure that our harness is up here high and tight. And we're going to zip tie this down as well. Now our wire is very secure from here to here, and we don't have to worry about it getting into a tire, into a wheel. And now we're going to leave this kind of excess up here. Now you got to be kind of careful and see what you're doing here to make sure you don't get all tangled up in the other light wires. Most people are going to have other things they've added, such as lighting, and there's going to be a bunch of additional plugs. Let's move to the other side, and I'll show you where we're going to route the other side and what you have to do to get access to it as well. All right, so same thing we just did on the other side. We just removed that cover. It just pulls out. It's very simple to get off. And now we've exposed our fuse box area. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a 13 millimeter, the same thing you just removed your battery cover with, or even your gas tank previous in your install. We're going to remove these 2 bolts. Now you don't have to remove any of these wiring connections. All we're going to do is just grab this box and pull it out just enough that we now have access to run our wiring. So keeping in mind where these other connectors are, we're just going to try to make sure that we're clearly here at the back of the battery. We're going to pull out through this same area and fish this wire, just like we did on the other side, to this same place that we're going to secure our zip tie. Again, this is the belt side. You see your belt. It says belt side on our harness. And we're going to go through here. We're going to secure this about where it says belt as far as that sticker goes. At that point again, we're going to flush cut our zip tie. And the same thing we just did on the other side, we're going to find this little place where a zip tie will go through, grabbing our harness, feeding that zip tie around to secure that harness up, so that there's no chance of this wiring ever getting down into this belt or into the tire. Really, really simple process. We just want to show you how to get to it. Now we're just going to push this panel right back where it was, and we're going to put these bolts back in place. At this point, we're going to put both of our covers back on. All right, so now we're back to under our seat. Now I normally run my backbone connector down this side, so it comes out on the side where either I have the area where the anti-lock brake module is, or I can go behind the battery. And what we're going to do with this wiring is we don't want this exposed or seen after we get our battery cover back on. So we're going to make our connection. We're just going to plug in here. That simple. We've got our wiring all connected now. Now I'm going to route, make sure I have just enough wiring that I feed it down beside this battery. And I'm coming up in this little void here behind the battery. Now there's a pretty good cavity here that nothing is in rear of the battery. It doesn't cause you a problem in the future to try to change your battery. Simply pull it out if you want to get to it. But we have a lot of length here that we don't want to just cram in this hole. So if you didn't have ABS, normally I'm going to pull it out to this side, and where the ABS module is, I'm going to zip tie this wiring, I'm going to leave it in there, and I'm going to secure it. When we have ABS such as this one, I now know that I have this much wiring to deal with. I'm just going to kind of fold it over like this. I'm going to wrap one zip tie around it just for securing purposes, so we don't have a bunch of loose wiring. I'm going to tighten that down. So we have this little bundle. Now at this point, this can be put in that cavity right to the rear of the battery. The only thing that hinders you from getting in here are a couple of these bolts that stick down. They're a little longer, so just fish underneath those. Get this into this void. As you see, our wiring is now in a place that nothing is in the way. I'm going to put our battery cover back on, put everything where it goes in place here, and then we'll be ready to move on to our bags, putting the wiring in the bag and cutting those lids. All right, so this is one of those terrible installations where redoing someone else has done. They went ahead and they just cut this plastic to make it easier to go on and off with. Normally there's a loop here that you actually go around this little metal bracket, secures the front of this cover down. Somebody thought Harley didn't know what they were doing and they didn't need that, so they've cut it off. But normally you're going to push this to the front, you're going to go around that so that it's secure. But in this case, we don't have that option because they decided to remove that for us. So now we're going to get everything back where it's supposed to be or where it used to be. Let's see what all we have here. Our ECM snap back in, so that's your computer. We want to put it back where it's supposed to go. There's a couple extra connectors here. This little connector is always not used unless you have a California emissions model. That would have been for your evaporative emission solenoid, which most of the bikes we work on do not have here in Tennessee. I believe that is an accessory connector for a heated seat. Now we're going to take our gas tank connections and put them back where they go. Now these are marked black and gray for what color connector. Sometimes these do better if we pull them underneath here. There's our black one. And this is our gray one, there, like that. Now under the seat, on some bikes it's still clean, but on most of them you're going to find they're quite a bit dirtier than the rest of the bike. As you see, we're getting quite a bit of dirt on us. We'll get those cleaned up before we move on to our painted surfaces. But that is all of the wiring back where it goes underneath our seat. So we're ready to move on now. And as you see, it's as clean as it was from the factory with the exception of this additional light wiring. You can't see where we ran the speaker wires. This keeps you from being blamed when you go in for service work for any issues. If you just had a pile of messy wires here, every electrical issue you have from now on out is going to be blamed on your accessories. We do it the right way. It's all plug and play. It's all waterproof. It's all done correctly, and it's very serviceable. These connectors are going to be outside of your bag. Some of the other kits on the market, such as the Rockford kit, puts that connector in the bag, makes it difficult because you have to unplug it and ungrommet it and fish wiring out to get your bag off. Ours is going to be a simple 2-wire connection right outside of the bag. Remove it to get to your tire, to get to your shock, to get to your brakes, to the belt. Whatever it is you're working on, it'll be very easy to do, and you won't be charged additional by your dealership because of your system if you have that service work done. All right, so I'm going to wash my hands. We're going to get back to the bags. We're going to show you how to cut it out. Last step, we'll show you how to put the wiring in the bag that's going to plug into these connectors. Keep watching. All right, so I've got this blue bag on my white bike, just so I can give you a better view of what we're doing. It's going to be the same process with a tour pack, but you're trying to cut around that speaker pod. It's always better to be able to remove that bag and get it out of the way. First step we're going to do on any bag, no matter what color or what it is, we're going to tape off with painter's tape the area where our template's going to go, just to protect from any vibration or scratches. The template's going to do a really good job of that, but this is just an extra level of protection. So we're going to try to put our tape on relatively smooth because we don't want some big humps that are causing us to put our template in the wrong place. I do this a whole bunch of times, so I'm going to make this look pretty easy. It's not hard, don't get me wrong, but I always make things look a little easier than they are just from the amount of times that we do it. But if you'll do it the way that I'm doing it, it will always be easier than you trying to do it your new way, especially if it's your first time. All right, so now we have our template. So your template is awesome. It wraps around all 3 sides. We also have this part that's going to rest right on the front. But the important thing I want you to always look at is you'll notice there's a body line right here. we want to make sure that body line lines up with the body line on the bike. That gets our cut kit in the exact right location. Once we have it where it goes, we've pressed it down, we've checked that, we're going to put 3 screws in the top of this to hold it in place so it cannot move while we're cutting. All right, so that is the important part, that we have a good tight fit now all the way around. If this fits tight, your cut kit will fit tight once you get it installed. So you want to now recheck, look at that body line, make sure it's in the right place, make sure we're all the way down where we need to be on the front, and that we don't have any gaps between our cut kit and our actual lid on our bike. If you get this right, it's really hard to mess up the next parts, but we'll go over those and just to make sure that we don't have any confusion and that you don't do this incorrectly. All right, so the next step is going to be to pre-drill some holes that we're going to drop our saw into. I've got a 3/8 bit here in my Milwaukee drill, and we're just going to drill these holes. Same thing, one over here. I do that because I'm going to cut this side as one cut, this side is going to be another cut, and then this one is going to be our last one. We're going to wrap all the way down to the front. Now these little corners, if you notice, they are rounded. We're not going to try to round that with a bit. We're just going to do a straight cut. We're going to make those into 90-degree cuts. It's going to make it way, way simpler for you because you're just cutting straight, you're cutting straight, and the only part that you're rounding at all is here, and that's going to be a very, very easy cut for somebody that's used a saw much at all. All right, so my tool of choice for this is a Milwaukee hacksaw. I like it because it's one-handed. It allows me to get exactly where I need to go. It does have a nice foot that rests on my cut kit, and I use this particular Milwaukee blade. I get asked a lot in the videos, what blade is that? So this is part number 5162. It's called a scroll blade. It fits a sawzall, but it's more like a jigsaw blade. They make these in different lengths as well. The shorter one would be fine. We use this one primarily. But 5162 is the part number. You can get it at Ace Hardware, Home Depot, anywhere that sells Milwaukee tools generally sells this blade. Sometimes I've seen you have to order them online. Our Ace Hardware does a really good job of keeping these normally. They normally come in a 5-pack when you buy them. All right, so we're going to drop this into our hole. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up to this first corner. Now, I want to tell you, this is a pretty wide gap compared to the width of your blade. You want to follow the outside edge of this. All right, so I just cut a straight line up into here. I'm going to drop back in now, and I'm going to go the other direction. Now, it doesn't normally throw much plastic shavings, but I got to tell you, put eye protection on. I know I'm not wearing it. I probably should be, but you need to do that. Also, make sure you don't get your finger where the blade is going to get smashed. You don't want to smash your finger in here where this goes up and down. You also don't want to get it cut. So be careful of those things. All I did was a straight cut from this corner to this corner. Don't go too far. You want to stop right where the other one would meet. All right, so now we're going to drop in our other hole. And as you get to each one of these little bridge points that hold this template together, you're going to cut through those. Just straight line, cut right through it. All right, so now we have those two sides cut. I'm going to drop in from this side. We're going to do kind of the similar thing. We're just going to start, follow right up to that corner. Now I'm normally going to, when I get done, I'm going to come back here, and from basically this point to this point, I'm going to cut about an extra blade width off. That's the tightest part of the cut kit, and I find it fits much better if I cut it just a hair bigger there than the other places. So I'll show you that here in a minute, but I just want to show you what's still together. Now, as we cut through each one of these, we are separating the middle part from the outside part. So as we get down here, I want you to make sure you've got your hand on it and that you're holding this so that it doesn't move as you cut through the last couple of these. Now, making sure you keep the foot of your saw pressed firmly against your template and just curve with this as you go. So now that you've cut all the way through, you're going to see that this is now a separate piece. You're going to take this off. Now this is the part where you could take something and you could sand this edge and you could make it a little bit bigger or a little bit straighter, but really we have about a 1/4 inch area of play. Now I know that this corner is the corner that always is a little too tight for my liking, and I'll take about an extra blade off here. So you could do this without doing that, but this corner is going to sit more flush and look better with that little extra cut out there. So I know it's not absolutely perfect, but it is really close. You could take a sander and you can make it more perfect if you're more OCD, but I know that that 1/4 inch gap, all this is going to be gasketed well, it's going to fit well. So I'm going to untape it, we're going to move on to the kit. I'm going to show you the correct order to put the screws in. This is very, very tight. It's a little hard if you don't follow my order, so I'll show you how to do that next. All right, so you got your new Hertz Cut Kit. You've already cut through here. I want you to take a second. I want to check the gaskets that are on our cut kit. I want to make sure they're in the right place. Now, you'll find out that the gasket on this part really doesn't matter, because all we're doing is keeping the paint from being vibrated or be rubbed through, or vibration from things from hurting it with this gasket, because if water wanted to get in, it would come right through here. So the important gasket is going to be on this side. This is what's going to seal that water that gets through from being able to come out those edges. So we want to look at this gasket. We want to make sure it's in place where it's supposed to be, that it's all in good shape before we move forward, because this is the one that has to seal everything out. So we're going to drop our upper piece in. We're going to open up our bag. And now we're going to drop this section in to kind of meet up with it. Now I'll tell you, this is very, very tight. And before I ever try to push this side in place, I'll put a couple of the front screws in. So these are going to be a T20 Torx. And we're going to start on the front corner. We're going to just start this screw just a couple turns. We're not going to tighten it up yet. So I started that one just a couple turns. We're then going to move to the other front corner, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to kind of push down till we find what we have, and we're going to start it. Now that went very, very easy, but we didn't try to get these in place yet. If you'll notice, it pushes in around your latch. Now we're going to kind of press that down. You see it just fell in. And we're going to be able to line up the other two, because these are now lined up, but they would have really fought you if you wouldn't have done it in this order. So now I'm going to push in, and I'm going to try to find this one. I'm actually going to move to this one first, because this is always the easier one to start in the back. So kind of push in on your grill, push in on your screw, and you'll feel it fall in. I just heard it fall into the hole. I'm going to start it a couple turns. Now, because those three are started, this one is going to be lined up perfectly, and all I have to do is push. You'll hear it fall in, and then it started. Now, none of them are actually tight yet. So now I'm going to kind of work around. I'm going to do a couple turns on each one, and I'm going to work this into place without tightening any one of them all the way down yet. Just so our gasket pulls in well, and we find everything seals much better this way than trying to tighten one all the way down. Easy to do. It's as easy as I just showed you if you follow this sequence of putting the bolts in. If you try to start with these back ones, you will fight and fight and fight with this. You'll be mad at me. You'll think that I lied on how easy it was or how hard it was, and you just got to follow these directions. That's why we make them, because we do this. This is several hundred of these I've cut in now, and I figured out the easy way, probably 20 or 30 in. All right, so now I'm just going to double check. I think they're all tight. We're going to check it one more time. These are all going into brass inserts, so they go in really well. They're all tight. So now I'm going to throw this piece away. I'm going to vacuum my bag out, and then I'm going to mount the speaker. I'm going to go over and I'm going to show you how to put the gasket on the speaker and how that goes. Now I want you to look really good. This fits absolutely perfect. It fits the edges of the bag perfect. It is pulled in, even the back side, all the way back here. This back corner on a lot of kits doesn't fit tight, and it's pulled all the way in. It looks really, really good. Install is done correctly, and if you follow these steps, yours will look this good too. All right, so now we're going to take our SX690 Neo and our cut kit gasket. We're going to take this gasket. We're just going to pull out each one of the little round holes where our screw holes would have went. Always do that first. We're going to remove the sticky backing on it. And I find this is easier to do if I just put it on the speaker. We want to make sure we put it in the right place. So we're going to line up this corner with the hole. Kind of follow this on around. Make sure that our other side lines up correctly. Our screw hole will go through. Now this little thin gasket, we want to make sure that we put it right where it goes in the middle of this as we come out to this back one, because you got some area there, and the better you do this, the better and more watertight this is going to seal up. So same thing on this side. We're going to try to keep that toward that outside edge. So we stick it in place and push this one in. So not difficult, but we're going to apply that to the speaker. By applying it to the speaker, it just makes this so much easier than trying to apply it to the bike. Now these are going to be held in with Phillips screws. We're going to get a number 2 Phillips screwdriver, and we're going to get the included screws. It's going to be short, almost self-tapper looking screws here. Let's go to our lid and get it installed. Now again, after doing hundreds of these now, I know that if I start with this screw, the one that's a little bit further down in here first, this is going to be easier to get everything else lined up. Do that hard one while your speaker's loose. Then come out. At that point, it really doesn't matter. Grab the next one you can see or get to. We're not tightening any of them yet. We're just going to get them all lined up into that hole where they're supposed to go. So all of our screws are started. Our terminals are toward the middle of the bag because that's what our harnessing is designed for. Now I'm just going to move my speaker around to where it falls in right where it's supposed to be. I'm going to start tightening these down. And you're going to see that it pulls it down and pulls it in all the way around. And that gasket's now going to be very watertight and very, very well sealed. We don't want to get water in our bags. These speakers are going to make sure that we don't. All right, so they're all tight now. So we get asked all the time, is the speaker waterproof? Absolutely waterproof. If it gets rained on, you're not going to damage the speaker. And then people go, well, what do I do about the water that gets in there? Well, if you are riding in the rain, water gets in here, or maybe from washing. When you get done, open it up, just dump the water off the speaker. It's not going to hurt it to have it on there for the time that it's on there. And when you dump it off, it's going to go back to sounding right because you don't have water just flooding around on top of the speaker. So awesome install on this. We're going to do the other side. It's done the exact same way. There's no reason in me taking the time to film the second one for you on this install. Next, I'll show you how to get the wiring properly into this bag so that you can finish your install and get your bike sounding as good as the one we're working on today. All right, so I'm going to show you where you're going to drill your hole to route the wiring that goes to your 6x9. Now we're at the front of the bag where the speaker is. We're on the inside, and you're going to see where it would originally attach to the bike and where you're going to latch your lid, and we're going to find a place about here, in between it and just a little lower, and we're going to drill a hole. Now this bit I'm using is a 16mm paddle bit. This is also the same size as 5/8. Drill this hole right there, clean up a little bit of our mess, and I'll show you how to put the wiring grommet in there. All right, so now we have the harness that came in your kit. The grommet, for whatever reason, is normally on the other side. So we're going to push that to the correct side, down where our plug-in is. We're going to push both of our wires. Just feed those through the hole that you just drilled. And I'm going to normally take the crack from this, and I'm going to face it downward so that we don't get any water ever into this grommet. We're going to start by pushing one of these edges into the hole. I'm then going to take a little straight screwdriver, and I'm just going to kind of press this little gasket into place. We're just feeding it around as we go. This is a 5/8 hole is pretty tight on this, but if you were to make this really loose, you're going to risk getting water in. Also, the tighter that we make these seals, the better our 6x9s end up sounding in this kind of sealed enclosure. All right, so now I've got that wire in place. If you look in from this side, we'll just peel that plastic out. Now you'll see it's all evenly out, and it's very, very well sealed. We'll move back to the bike. I'll show you how to secure it around here and what we do to make sure that that wire management is done right. When you set your bag down on your bike and you're going to go in, make sure you plug this connector in. Once you get it plugged in, just make sure it goes down below that mount and lean your bag in where it goes. We're going to take our turn-ins and turn those in where they go, securing our bag. All right, so now we're going to take some isopropyl alcohol and we're going to clean this surface because we're going to install a zip tie base in 3 places and zip tie this wire in where it goes so it'll be nice and clean in our bag. All right, so I've wiped this down with isopropyl alcohol, so we've got some good clean surfaces for these to stick. I'm going to come just right across from the wire and I'm going to put one on this side of my bag. I'm going to bring it over to the other side and do the same thing again. Now these are included when you buy your kit from Volunteer Audio. We include these zip tie bases along with the zip ties necessary to secure this wiring. So you're going to get some zip ties, you're going to get all these parts. When you buy from other people, a lot of times you'll get some random parts. None of them are set up right, none of them are really meant to work together, and there's a whole lot of guesswork. We want to take all that out so that you have the best experience and end up with the same system that you watch us install when you do this on your own. So I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to take the positive and negative and put them on the correct place. Black goes to negative, red goes to positive. Now we're doing this, and they may stay here, but a lot of times in Harley installs, we find that Harley's inconsistent in their wiring and their phase or polarity will be off. And so we're going to check that at the end with a phase or polarity tester, and anything that is wrong, we're going to fix. So this may change, but if that be the case, we just got our wire routed in the right place. It's not a big deal to swap those 2 connectors. So starting closest to your bag over there, we're gonna start in that corner. One other thing you can do is you can take a little zip tie and put around that grommet so that it is where it needs to go. This isn't like some of the other kits where you have to ungrommet it every time you work on your bike. It's just that simple plug on the outside. The last step always, take your zip ties and flush cut them. This is going to keep you from ever scraping yourself, cutting yourself on those zip ties in your bag, along with any of the belongings you may have. So as you see, that's a very clean deal. We're going to do one last vacuum inside the bag just to be completely done. But now we have our 6x9 installed. We have very, very clean, professional install that you can do yourself watching these videos. And if you feel uncomfortable with any part of this, you can send the lids to Volunteer Audio. We'll charge you labor just to cut them in if you don't want to. Or you could bring the whole bike to us. We'll do the whole install. It'd be great to meet you. Make sure that everything is to your liking. Let you hear it at the end, and I think you'll be absolutely blown away with what we can do to your bike. So whether you want to do this yourself with our tech support, our install videos like this one, or if you want to come see us, we'd love for that to happen. Give us a call at 1-844-30-AUDIO, and we'd love to put together that perfect package for that self-install or set that appointment for you to come in and visit us here in East Tennessee. Close to the Smoky Mountains, close to the Tail of the Dragon, so many great places to ride. Make a little vacation out of it. Come see us, and make sure you plan the beginning of your trip here so you can enjoy that ride through all of our beautiful scenery, listening to your awesome new system. All right, so we got both sides done. Speakers installed, wired in. They look magnificent. Last step to any install is to do a polarity test. So once you're finished with your install, definitely look at the step-by-step install videos at volunteeraudio.com. The last thing is going to be our polarity test, and you'll see that little polarity test tool. How to use it is in one video. The track that you need to play while doing it is another one. We put that on YouTube so you can connect via Bluetooth. You can play it and make sure that all of your speakers are working together to give you the best mid-bass and the best sound. It's very, very important. Don't skip that part. But I think you've seen just how easy it is to install a cut kit in your bike in this video. And I want to tell you, this is the best way. Don't think about replacement lids. Replacement lids are terrible. They're either going to have a 5x7 that's not big enough, or a 6x9 that's facing straight up and it's not pointed at you. If you notice, these speakers are angled toward our rider. So you're going to get a much better sound. You also seen how well it was gasketed to keep water out. Most of those replacement lids have no gaskets at all. When it rains, it pours in your bag when you did a replacement lid. Also, with the speaker being mounted so high in here, it doesn't take up hardly any bag space at all, whereas those replacement lids, most of the time, have a big plastic adapter and then your speaker, and they hang really low in the bag. So this is going to take up the least amount of space. Put the speaker in the right angle, and it's going to be the most waterproof. And Hertz did a magnificent job in this look. I think it looks better than the grills you're going to find on most of your replacement lids. Plus, when you have a beautiful bike like this, there's no paint work involved. So in a couple hours, you can have this install finished. Never had to pay anybody to paint a lid. Those Advan Black, Hogworks lids, they look nice. They've got some pretty good paint on them. but they're all very low quality built, and the way the speakers are designed either rubs the surround and you got to add spacers, or it leaks in the bag. There's a lot of downsides to doing their bag lids. This is the way, this is the right way, and that's what you'll always see here at Volunteer Audio. We do things the best way we know how until a better way comes. So we've used a lot of precision power cut kits. They're also excellent. They work great with the precision power speakers, and we used to mount the Hertz speakers in them. And we still offer that as an option if you like their grill look better. But these Hertz cutting kits are awesome. I think the look is amazing, and they fit these speakers absolutely perfect. Thank you for watching the video about the cut kits. Again, if you need to know how to do your 6.5s in your tour pack, your fairing speakers, your amp mount, your lowers, radio replacement, whatever it is, volunteeraudio.com step-by-step install videos are at the top of our page. Right there at the menu where you would select to purchase something, you can watch all those videos. Select your style bike, your range, and they're broken into little simple videos like this one to help you through that process. It allows you to get it done and get it done the right way. We'll take and go over, just like we did, all the tips and tricks to make it as easy as possible on you too. And when you buy from Volunteer Audio, that free tech support, if you get to a point you don't understand something or you get stuck, give us a call. You'll talk to me, Rick, Samantha. We'll make sure that you get the right information and that you can get it done. Like this video, by doing so you help Volunteer Audio move up in search results, and definitely subscribe to our channel. We'll tell you about the latest in Harley audio as it comes out. So you'll be at the forefront. You'll know what product's good for you. We'll show you how to install it. We'll show you how to use it. And we'll show you the benefits from one to the other to make sure you get the right parts the first time when you do your install. Thank you so much for watching Volunteer Audio, and as always, God bless.